Alrighty guys, welcome back to another LEGO set review that's been a long time coming. This is the entirety of Collectible Minifigures Series 1. And Series 1 of the Collectible Minifigures was released back in 2010. It was kind of a weird, kind of different thing for LEGO. This was the first time they ever tried to do something like this, where they just sell a minifigure. And you know, it became pretty successful, and that's why we now get 3 to possibly even 4 sometimes series per year. So yeah, this was really the start of something special for LEGO, and these ones, as a result, have been kind of collectible. Over in the US, at least, they're relatively expensive on the aftermarket, as the US, or LEGO, did not allocate enough stock to the US, so, you know, they sold out quickly here, and, you know, for good reason. They were $2 each back when the first series came out, and they remained at the $2 price point in Series 2, and then once they got around to Series 3, they raised the price to $3 per bag. But obviously, you don't just buy it like this. You buy each one in an individual minifigure bag like this. You know, it opens. It's the same style that they used from, you know, the first series up all the way through the Harry Potter series. That was the last series to have this normal bag style, at least as far as we know. It looks like they're moving forward with a newer, kind of taller style of bag. But there are 16 figures included here, and, you know, all of them are pretty cool. I don't think there are any here that are awful. So let's just start. Let's go in order of the way they're placed on the leaflet. Many of these were bought slightly used. If you see like a really tiny scratch or small imperfection, like there's a little tiny dark brown spot right above the printing on the hips, you know, it's because it was used, and, you know, I didn't want to spend, or I wanted to save as much money as possible as I could, you know, buying the figures. Obviously, I didn't want, like, ones that were in awful shape, but, you know, for the most part, I think they're all pretty good, but you might notice some really tiny things here and there that maybe I didn't even notice. But here's the Tribal Hunter, and this is the first kind of Western-themed minifigure we've gotten since the 90s Western theme, really. This was before the Lone Ranger sets too, so, you know, there's really no substitute. So this was kind of a cool figure. It's something that a lot of fans who started buying LEGO when, you know, this series came out, like, if they started in the mid-2000s, they'd have no Western anything. So, you know, this is a pretty desirable minifigure in that regard. He does have the feather piece, which they did use back in the Western theme. I believe that this printing is exclusive to this figure still. And I like how they have the one little spot that's not printed there, that's intentional to look like, you know, it is a feather. And there's no printing on the backs, but this series, Series 1 through Series 3, I think maybe there were extra pieces included in Series 4 as well, but they'd included extra parts with the figures on small pieces, so there was an extra one of these included. And it's inserted into a hole on this hairpiece. There's also one at the very top, so you could insert it there, but it's designed to be inserted in this back area. And, you know, it looks pretty good, gets a good look across. I believe this hairpiece is not exclusive. I think that this was from the Western theme. They obviously had to reintroduce the mold, but I believe that this is designed pretty much the same. I don't know if it had the same holes as this one does, but, you know, it's very similar at least. He does have a bow and arrow, which is the typical bow and arrow, and he has a quiver. Not removing that because there's no back printing on this figure, and I believe there's no back printing on any of the figures in the series, unless there's someone that I'm forgetting, but the majority of them at least do not have back printing. And no one has an alternate face as well, so, you know, I'm not going to bother removing the headgear most of the time. Just doing it this time to tell you that I'm not going to in the future. Well, actually, I guess with this one, I'll remove it slightly so that you can see the printing on the torso. It is pretty good throughout. It's a little bit simplified looking, but kind of respect that in this regard because it kind of makes it fit in well with the Western themed figures. You know, it kind of feels like it's in that style. The face is an updated, you know, style, obviously, to fit with the modern style of minifigure eyes. But it's pretty good looking, and I like the face paint on there. Then we have the Cheerleader, and this is one of the 2 female minifigures in the series. This is the series that has the fewest amount of girl figures in it, which, you know, maybe you care about that, maybe you don't. But I think that it's a pretty well done figure for what it is. It did introduce a brand new mold for the pom-pom piece, which, you know, it's a good piece. It's got the printing on the top, you know, just painted blue. I think the way they do that is they just, you know, paint on the top. So I don't think it's a specific pattern printed on there. It's just however deep it goes is however deep it goes. I could be wrong. The torso print on there is good. Really, really good level of opacity for the yellow on there, which, you know, is not as common today, unfortunately. But the face print for her is exclusive and pretty good. I believe her hairpiece was new in this color at the time, but it was swiftly reused in the Series 2 Lifeguard. And the torso print, again, is really good. No back print, but there's a little bit of leg printing with a little bit on the side, just to continue the yellow stripe around. But, you know, she's a pretty good figure. She was re-released in the Brick calendar that I think came out a year after the series or whatever, along with the Skater Guy, we'll see shortly. But both of those were available briefly in that other set, so they're a little bit more common than some of the figures in the series, but I think that they're still really cool. We have gotten a couple Cheerleaders since, but I do think that this one definitely holds up with the other 2. They're all equally well done figures. And one of my personal favorite figures here is the Caveman, and the Caveman did introduce several new pieces. He introduced this big bushy beard and hair piece in black, which I believe it stayed exclusive in black. They did re-release it with a Caveman minifigure in a little, basically just a reskin of this guy with some different colors. So they released it in brown there, and I think they also used it in a City Museum set. I don't think it's ever been reused in black, but I could be mistaken about that. It's a pretty good part, and I like it quite a bit. It does cover a little bit of his face print, but you can see the mouth popping through, and he's really, really happy. He looks a little bit, he doesn't look angry, but he doesn't look as happy when you put the beard back on. He does have a unibrow. Nice. It's something that we don't see on many faces. The torso print is pretty good. Again, good level of opacity there. It's a little weird that it's just solid tan on the back, and it's a little weird that he doesn't have side printing or dual molded legs. But, you know, that's excusable for the age of the figure, since back in 2010, most of those things didn't exist. He does also get a newer mold for a smaller club. I believe this was introduced with him. It has been reused in this color several times with Iggy from I think Iggy's the mouse, right? From the Simpsons Series 1. And it was also used in the Lego Batman movie series with the Caveman Batman. But it's, you know, it's a good piece, and it was a good introduction here. It scales well with the figure. I know they had a larger version of this club with some of the Kingdom stuff, with that big giant troll ogre thing, big fig. But, you know, this is definitely a pretty good piece, you know, for scale with a minifigure. And then we have the Circus Clown, and this one is one of my favorites in the series, along with the Caveman. Both of those are really good. But, I don't know, this one just screams clown to me like no other CMF clown has since. I don't know, the bright colors are great. I love the afro piece, which is a new mold here. And, you know, in red, it is state exclusive. It's just a good design, I think. The horn piece was introduced as well for this figure. It's pretty good. This is basically the same shape as the microphones that are introduced in the next series, but, you know, just on a horn. And this is a good part. I like it. It was reused in a birthday set, and I think you were able to find it at the Build a Minifigure bar, but, you know, this was definitely the easiest way to get it, back when it was out. Obviously nowadays you don't go buying CMF clowns just for the horn, but it is a really, really cool piece. I like the printing on the legs with the two different colored legs with different colored patches. Good print on there. And the torso is good. I like the lime green color. It's nice and bright and really pops. And, you know, it's a good design altogether. And his face print with the big red nose is just awesome. I don't know. Definitely my favorite clown minifigure. Yeah, it doesn't have, you know, side leg printing or back printing or arm printing. It doesn't have a double-sided face. Oh no. But I just think that this is the most clowny of all the clown figures, if that makes any sense. I don't know, I like it a lot. That clown has been kind of redesigned in a birthday set, and also for Clown Batman from the Batman movie. They did a slight reprint, recolor, you know, none of the same colors and same exact prints, but slight redesigns. They've also slightly redesigned this zombie. I don't own the redesigned version. It was in a Collectible Minifigures branded little Halloween set, and he was basically just had a brown suit with a gray tie, I think. But this is one of the most expensive and I guess desirable of Series 1. It's not bad. I mean, I don't hate it, but I don't see it as one of the best. I don't know. He's got some rips on his pants. Good design on his torso. I like the tie. You know, and his face print is nice. Very zombie-like. He does have a shovel which is flat on the top, which is unlike normal shovels. So it's a slight mold variation, but you know, I don't know how common this variation of the shovel was, but all of the collectible minifigure zombies came with one like that, as well as a new mold of turkey leg, which I like better than the regular one. All it has is a longer bone section, but that allows the minifigure to actually grip it well instead of like half holding it like that, like they have to do with the regular ones. I don't know, like it doesn't completely perfectly fit in there. This one fits perfectly. I don't know, I just think it's better. They had, for the longest time, it was exclusive to this guy, but I think they've reintroduced it with at least my copy of the Firstborn set from Hunted had this this length of turkey legs. So I still have not gotten down to the bottom of the whole long-legged turkey leg debate mystery, but it seems to me like I don't know if it was suppressed for 9 years or 8 years, or if I just was unaware of its presence in other sets, but I don't know. It's a confusing situation for me. So if you have any information, let me know in the comment section down below. But I do think that this figure is fine. Not my favorite, and I don't think it's worth paying the largest amount of money in the series for, but I did get a good deal on it, so, you know, I'm not too unhappy about it. And then we have the Skateboard Guy, and this is one of the more popular figures in the series, not because it, you know, is, like, rarer or anything, because it did appear in that brick calendar, as I mentioned before, but, you know, it's just a fun figure for the kids, and I would guess part of that has to do with the fact that he comes with a skateboard that he can ride, and, you know, it's fun to roll things around. But in test audiences, this is a fact that came from one of the minifigures books, but in test audiences, this was one of the more popular ones amongst kids, which, again, makes sense, because the skateboard, was the skateboard new? I think it was new with this figure. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it was new when this was introduced, and it also came in a city set later that year. Or it was the other way around, and it was introduced in the city set, but I think it was probably introduced here. And it does have these wheels, which are detachable. They're a little bit hard to detach, because the axles are a little, they're a little easy to bend, so I'm not going to actually detach them, but you do just snap them in place, and then they roll pretty well. It works fine. And the torso print on this guy is a nice little sweatshirt with skull and crossbones. He has no back printing. It would have been cool to get back printing just to put a hood on there, but I think it's cool nonetheless. And the face print is nice, and he has the same hair as Cole from Ninjago. And, you know, this hair in that color is not, or wasn't the most common for a couple of years. Since then, it's been in a bunch of sets, but yeah, this was one of the first ways to get it. I don't want to say it was absolutely the first, but it may have been. And then we have the robot, and I mean, I can say for certain this time that this was the first time that this helmet had been introduced. It's in like a nice shiny metallic silver color, which kind of contrasts against the light bluish gray used for his torso, legs, and arm. This arm here is the same color as the helmet. And he does have a claw piece, which is in a weird color. It's like this lighter silver. It's very slight and subtle, but it's a little bit shinier than light bluish gray, and not nearly as shiny as the metallic silver. But I don't think it's the same as like regular flat silver that we get for studs. It's just a weird color. But I think they did include an extra with this figure in the bag, because you do assemble that separately. You can remove this pretty easily. You just have to pull it in and out a lot. But yeah, you can remove that, and you can then just stick it back in. And, you know, it fits in his arm perfectly fine. And the arm does come molded onto the torso. The torso print is pretty good. I like the face print. That's a really nice design. Reminds me of the Nexo Knights Squire bots. So it's not that unique anymore, but at the time it was brand new and really cool. And obviously, again, it's still exclusive, but there's other stuff that looks similar to it now. And the torso print is good. I like it. It's a little simplified, but, you know, this is supposed to be a cartoony robot, so I think that that's perfectly fine. And I like the little bolts that they have on his legs. And here we have it. This is my favorite in the series by a long shot, partially because they haven't attempted to make anything close to this guy since. Like, you know, the clown. We've gotten other clowns, and yeah, they're not as good as this clown, in my opinion. But they are clowns, so if you wanted a clown, you could just get one of the other ones and not get this one. Like the Caveman, we've had the re-release of that Caveman that I mentioned. The Forest Man, I guess we haven't gotten anything exactly like it since, but we've had Forest Men that look like it in the past. We've gotten more cheerleaders, we've gotten more Indians, we've gotten more cowboys, we've gotten more divers, we've gotten more spacemen. We even had the super wrestler in the Lego movie sets, so that they can fight against each other. We've had zombies, we've had an evil version of the robot, we've had a zombie version of the skateboarder, plus other just skateboarders. I guess we haven't had a ton of nurses, but, you know, it's kind of a city thing. So, you know, we've gotten some people who work at hospitals and city sets. And then ninjas, we've had a whole theme around ninjas, so the ninja's not super special, but we've never gotten another crash test dummy at all. Nothing even close. So, in that regard, this figure's really cool, and it's just an awesome figure. I like the little crash test logos throughout. The license plate, PA770, or PA770, is a reference to the designer Michael Patton, his last name, you know, kind of looks like that. And there's no, I don't know, they didn't have enough space for an N, I guess. I think that this is supposed to be replicating a specific license plate design. I don't remember what country for, though. And the torso print is really good. You got the little belt there. I don't know. It's a simple figure, but it's super cool, and I love the face print. It's just great. He looks so enthusiastic. I don't know. This figure is one of my favorites, and not just in this series, in all of the collectible minifigures theme. Maybe at some point I'll have to do like a top 20 collectible minifigures video or whatever. If you want to see that, let me know in the comments. But next up we have the Magician, and I mean, I guess we haven't gotten a ton of Magicians since, so this is another one that's kind of similar in cool value to the Crash Test Dummy, but we have gotten this magic wand re-released in friend sets, which it's a cool magic wand. It's a bar piece with, I believe it's molded in white and the middle section is printed, or it's the other way around. I remember reading about that in an interview, or something, like some article I read where they interviewed the collector minifigures designer or whatever, and they said they mentioned how this is produced, but I can't remember what it said, and that's gonna bother me now. Maybe it's black with the ends printed white. If it is with the ends printed white, then they did a really fantastic job printing that white, because it looks super duper white. Honestly, it looks whiter than the white on his torso, which the white on his torso is still not bad, but it's, not as good. And his face print is great. Got the big exaggerated mustache. Kind of reminds me of the Series 2 Ringmaster. Again, no back printing, but he does also include an alternate headgear piece, a top hat, which, he can hold. And if you do want to just grab a stud out of your collection, not included with the minifigure, and just, stick it in his hand, that works. You can just kind of stick the top hat in his hand, but not perfectly flush, and it'll kind of want to pop off. So, just to avoid that, you can just stick it on his hand like that with a stud. But yeah, I think that this figure's cool. I don't know. It's a little simple, but I like the magic wand accessory a lot. Again, though, that's been used in a couple friend sets. The Super Wrestler is really cool. I like the blue color, the medium blue that they've used for his mask and his legs. I think it looks pretty neat. He's got the belt there, which is, got some slightly gold printing on there. It's not as reflective as some, but, it's fine. The orange that they use for the muscle definition is a little weird. They continue that in Series 2 with the Surfer Guy. But after that, they kind of move away from it, which, I don't know, it is a little bit of an odd color to use, and I prefer the current method, but it's not super distracting on this figure. The mask print on his head is really good. I like that a lot. And he has a cape, so, it covers the back. The back has no printing anyway. This is a kind of a cool figure. It's one of the more simple ones, and he has no accessories, which is a little bit kind of whatever. I guess it's cool to get a cape, though. They've become a lot common since, but, at the time, I guess capes weren't the most common thing in the world. But I do think that this is a pretty cool figure, and it's nice that we got El Macho in the Lego Movie 2 or Lego Movie 1 sets, so that you can kind of have a wrestling match between the two if you have both of them. And here's the Nurse. And this is one of the more expensive figures as well, along with the Zombie. They're the two rarest in the box, I think. And she does have this clipboard piece, which says Dawes on the top, which is a reference to one of the designers. I think his name is Lawrence Dawes or something. And that's a pretty good design for that print. That is the rarest part of her, as her face and torso appeared at different times in the Build a Minifigure bar. And her hair is just a common piece, but it was a brand new mold at the time. And this is probably the mold, or the most influential mold from the Collector Minifigures theme. Like, we see this everywhere now, but this is where it started, right here, in dark brown, which is still not the most common color for it, so, it's cool to get still. And the syringe piece here, she did include an extra in the bag as an extra piece. It's just a syringe, though, and we get those all the time. Her torso print is really good, but again, it did appear in the Build a Minifigure bar, so it's a little bit less common. However, still, this is the only official set you can get it in, so it's a cool design and definitely useful for hospital settings. I don't think it's worth spending like $40 on, but at $2, this is a good fig. And here's the Ninja, and again, kind of reminiscent of Ninjago, Cole specifically, because they're both wearing black. This does have the old style katana that had the octagonal hilt, which, is not nearly as common as the newer style, which has become, basically in every Ninjago set. But, good to get gold here. Again, there was an extra one included with this guy. So, you have one here. You could attach the second one to the back of his hood. There's a clip there, and you can kind of clip it. The blade is wide enough to fit in a clip, when it's flat. So you can attach that back there, or you can just, leave it to the side. The print for his torso is pretty good. It kind of reminds me of the Ninjago episode at the very beginning before they get their colored robes. The stuff that everyone wears is just the basic the basic robes. It looks good, I like that, and again, it's useful for that situation if you want to get 3 of these for Jay, Zane, and Cole. And the face print is good. He looks very focused, I guess. I don't know. The mouth is a little wide and far down, but it's a good facial expression still, and it works well with the mask covering it. The Spaceman's also a pretty neat figure. Has a ray gun, which this is again one of the more used pieces outside of the CMF line. I think the 3L bar was also new. That again is used everywhere nowadays. I think it's been reused in this color with the future CMF. I think it was with the Galactic Girl or something. This, I believe that color, it's like the same flat silver that was used for the claw of the robot. This color is the same. And I believe that in this weird light pearl silver or whatever, it is exclusive to this guy for that piece. So, it's kind of cool. I like his face print a lot. It reminds me of the Series 9 Knight with the, kind of daring expression. And, the helmet is a new mold as well. And it looks good. They've used it in sets since, I think in white as well. The torso print is really good. I like the classic space logo and the metallic silver on there. And the legs, they're fine. Nothing crazy special about them, but they're cool. The Forest Man minifigure is also pretty cool. He has a exclusive torso that was also then re-released in the Build minifigure bar and became less exclusive, but it is still a cool design. It's a little bit simplified, and there's no like creasing or anything, which is a little weird. It's kind of the same kind of simplification that you got with the Tribal Hunter. It's not bad, but they just feel a little bit more basic than future CMFs, which I actually kind of like this style. I don't know. It works well, I think. The bow and arrow and quiver are exactly the same as the Tribal Hunters, same color and everything. I like the face print a lot. It's very nice to get a smiling expression with the beard and mustache. And his hat is the same that was used in the Forest Man line from the old classic castle theme. There's like a wave of Forest Men sets. This is that piece. It's nice to get it again in the same green color. And the little feather piece here was also included as an extra. That you got 2 when you bought this guy. And I don't know. Overall, I think that this is nice and bright and really stands out amongst all the others, because a lot of them are a little bit more, muted colors. Like there's a lot of grays and a lot of tans in this one series. This guy pops out quite a bit, and I like that. And then we have the Deep Sea Diver, and no, he does not actually stick to the base plate. He comes with the flippers, and the flippers have no anti-studs on the bottom, but I am using 2 of these like nipple stud pieces in trans clear, just so that I don't drive myself crazy by knocking him off the stand every 30 seconds. But the actual figure is pretty well done. I like the orange flippers. They have appeared in other sets, and he has no printing on the legs, but he does have a little bit of printing on the torso, which is good. And his helmet is a nice design. It's a standard helmet with this goggle piece. I don't think this goggle piece was new, but it's not the most common piece in the world, and we've definitely gotten it since. The face print is really good. It's very standard, but it's again exclusive, and I don't know, it just looks really nice with the cheekbones. And he does have this breathing tank in orange, which I believe this part has remained exclusive to this guy. And there's the printing on his torso. Again, it's simplified, like the Forest Mans, the Tribal Hunters, but I don't know, I still think it looks really nice. And yeah, I don't know, overall, it's a good figure, and he definitely fits in the category of popping with the nice orange that you got here in a large quantity. And last but not least is the Cowboy, and he's another cool figure. He kind of gives an Indiana Jones vibe. He has a new color of the Indiana Jones Fedora, which is in dark tan this time. Pretty cool. And that face print, I like that a lot, with this, prominent sideburns. and the nice large mouth. Again, a little bit cartoonish, but it works well. And I don't know, the torso print I think has a good level of detail on there. Again, there's no like creasing or anything, but it looks good. And I don't know, this guy is a little bit more simple. He didn't introduce any new molds, you know, just has 2 of the standard pistols, which those weren't new for this guy, right? Maybe they were, and if they were, they've been used a ton since, but I don't know. It's a good figure. I like it. Not my favorite, but, you know, definitely nice to get at Cowboy, especially this is one of the ones that, you know, is part of a little bit of a pair in the series. You got the Cowboy and the Indian. It's kind of the closest we get to a pair of figures that go together in this series. Not all of the figures in the series have the greatest level of detail. Not all of them are the coolest figures ever made, but I do really like this series as a whole. Part of it is nostalgia. I remember the first minifigure I got was Series 2, and it was the Roman, or he's Spartan in Series 2, right? That guy's a Spartan warrior. But that was the first collector minifigure I ever got, and, you know, I'd gone on the internet, I looked up, and I saw these, the Series 1, and I never was able to find any of them in stores. So, you know, it's been something that I've wanted for a long time. I've been after this complete collection, and yeah, it was expensive, more so than I would have liked, but I'm happy with all the figures here, and, you know, I'm happy knowing that I have completed all of them. But putting that aside, yeah, these figures are not the most detailed. I don't think they're must-haves for anyone who's not crazy about CMFs or didn't really desperately want Series 1. I do think there are some here, though, that we just have not quite matched, you know, in quality or design. Like the crash test dummy, this guy I think is the #1 must-have from this series. Looking back, I mean, you know, when the series came out, like the Caveman was awesome. The Forest Man was pretty cool. The Zombie was pretty cool back when they came out, and the Tribal Hunter as well. Also the Spaceman. The Spaceman was pretty cool back when they came out, but it has been kind of less cool since they've re-released stuff similar. Also, I guess the Cheerleader was really cool back then too, because we didn't have anything like that. But, you know, as time has gone on, we've gotten kind of re-releases, or I guess slight redesigns, like we've gotten with the Caveman and the Clown and all that. We've gotten some, you know, like companion figures, like we've gotten the other Cheerleaders, the red one from Series 8, the evil robot, the space girl, the El Macho dude from the Lego movie. So, you know, not all of these are still as unique as they were back when they came out, but, you know, this is the series that started it all, and, you know, I have to respect it for that. Also, considering the original retail price of $2, obviously, any of these was a really, really good deal when they first came out. I don't know, I wouldn't recommend. This is not something for everyone to go out and buy the full series, but I don't know. I'd recommend at least trying to pick up one at some point. And, you know, my recommendation with the Crash Test Dummy, he's also one of the cheaper ones nowadays because he was more common back when they came out. So overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Glad I was able to get all of them and, you know, film the review. So I don't know. Maybe no one's gonna watch this. Maybe I did this for me, but, you know, either way, I did it, and, you know, I'm happy that I did. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys all next time.